Greetings, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is you're a creep. That's the best way I can put it. We have two stories that both have updates that have to deal with some weird behavior. Before we get started, everything that you see and hear in this video will be listed in the description. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free. We are on a road to 10,000 subscribers for the month of September. I think that does it. Let's go ahead and get started. So prepare yourself. There is a content warning. I guess people think this might be a little fake. So specifically, the content warning says this might be the work of the one-handed smuggler and his sticky keyboard. So, yeah, let's begin. My roommate used my Smex toy without my knowledge. What do I do? So the first post was August 1st, 2024. I'm sorry for the long one, but I am absolutely dumbfounded. A little bit of backstory. I, 23 female, have been married to my husband, 23 male, for 4.5 years now. We own our own place. My high school friend, let's call her Amy, 21 female, recently moved in with us about a month ago due to bad living situations with her family. She has a toddler who is also my godson. She said she would be here for about a month. Amy is not independent at all and is still living out her immature streak or turn 21 streak. She doesn't buy her own groceries, for example, laundry detergent, tampons, toilet paper, etc. So she has been using my husband and I's stuff, which in this economy has kind of been affecting us financially. I have tried to calmly bring it up, but I hate confrontation and am just a plain doormat. My husband and I have been arguing a lot lately due to this. Amy is barely home as she is usually out at bars, sleeping at or with other guys, out with friends, or at her mother's house. Why can't she stay with her mom? If she be over there so much, and she says she would only need a month, child, the time is running out. My husband and I recently noticed that small items were moved in our room. Our bedroom door has been left open. We always leave it closed for multiple reasons, most of which don't pertain to her specifically, mainly safety. Hygiene items are missing out of our bathroom, and pretty much just the house is in disarray. We are clean people and like to keep our house a certain way. We understand having a kid makes that hard, so we are lenient on some things. So, my husband had a camera in the house. The camera was in for about 4 days. We noticed when she was home alone, she would go into our bedroom. However, we can't see exactly what she's doing due to the angle of the camera. I have brought up to her that our bedroom door had been left open, and each time she responds, "I don't know how, I didn't go into your room," or "It was left open this morning." So I know she lies straight to my face. Now to the main point of this story. Today, my husband calls me and asks if I had her go into the room for any reason and if I had asked for Amy to get something out of my nightstand. I said no. Then he tells me to go check the camera. I do, and it shows her going into the bedroom, over to my nightstand, then back out. She was in and out very quickly. Didn't look around, only cracked the door enough for her to fit through, opened the drawer. You could hear it clear as day on the camera, and it's a very unique sound since they are old solid oak nightstands with no sliders. Then she walked out with something under her shirt. She knew exactly where she was going and what she was doing, like she had done it before. She also clearly knew it was wrong since she was trying to hide it. I immediately got upset and assumed she stole the cash that I had in there, but I knew I'd have to wait to get home after work to check. 15 minutes later, my husband calls again and says, "Go look at the freaking camera." And what do I see? Oh, God. her rinsing my Smex toy in the kitchen sink, not washing it with soap, sniffing it, drying it with our hand towel, sniffing it again, hiding it under her shirt again, then going back in the room to put it away. The camera stopped recording before she came out, but we know she was in there for at least 5 times longer than when she grabbed it, so we have no idea what else she was doing. You have no idea. So she went in there, grabbed it, went to go rinse it off, used the kitchen towel to dry it off, went back. So she did the business in their room with, oh man. Reddit never ceases to amaze me. OP says, I am completely disgusted, astonished, violated, just no words. And what can make it worse? Just 2 days prior, she tested positive for a vaginal bacterial infection and was given 2 different medications. I have no idea how many times she has done this since she has been living with us for a month and the camera was only in the house for a few days. That's disgusting. That is disgusting. I am at a loss because I don't want her to be in the streets, but she's 100% lost my trust forever. Furthermore, she's jeopardized my health, my husband's health, our relationship, and proven to be completely mentally immature. I'm entirely sickened by the whole situation. I don't know how I can ever have a normal friendship with her again. You can't. And you talking about you don't want her to be on the street. At the end of the day, she's an adult. She's responsible for herself. She also has a mother whose house she goes to on the regular. If anything, her mother needs to be looking after her, taking care of her. You just her friend from high school. You do not have an obligation to that girl. You've already let her stay in your house for almost a month. If she hasn't gotten it together at this point, like, you're good on you for helping, but it's really not your responsibility. And with these developments, that would be it for me. She would need to go. That's crazy. I wouldn't even be able to look her in the face after this. This is crazy. So someone said, immediately change your bedroom doorknob to a locking knob with a key to get inside. Throw away the Smex toy. Handle it with gloves on. Tell her you know she's been going into your bedroom and using your things. You're not stupid. You and your husband know what you do, what you use, and how you leave your bedroom. She is the only other adult in the house, and she has to stop lying. She has a choice of which homeless shelter you take her to. She should have plenty of money since she's been using all of your supplies and not paying for any food, toilet paper, bathroom supplies, etc. You and husband are done supporting her lifestyle. Don't tell her about the camera, just come at it as a matter of fact, no other explanation for the occurrences. Don't give her any wiggle room. Verbally back her up against the wall and tell her you are done. It's time she grows up and acts like an adult. I agree with this commenter, and also the fact that she has almost been there for a month. It sounds like OP said they need to be careful because she can easily become a squatter. The whole squatters' rights thing, I think it's just 30 days that you have to have been living at a place and you have to have your name on like the mail or something. I don't know how it works, but they have to be careful about that as well because this 1 month stay can turn into something completely different. Someone else said, finally a solid answer. Disliking confrontation is unfortunate, sure, but that's why you have a spouse. And someone else responded, no joke, one of the best things about being married is having a person willing to play pit bull or scapegoat in situations like this. My wife and I both can be overly accommodating. We're nice, empathetic people, but we aren't complete idiots. So if one of us isn't up to a confrontation, the other can muster, and it's easier to go against our soft kitten instincts when we're doing it for our partner. And likewise, if we're being peer pressured into a social thing we don't want to do, we have open permission to blame the other for why we can't, with whatever excuse we want to make. For 2 introverts prone to be peacemakers, it's such a perk. So this person has a great comment. This is what I was mentioning. They said, I would add, get legal eviction proceedings started well before you confront her. I'll guarantee you she'll dig her heels in and claim residency. The day you serve her with the eviction notice, as soon as she's in possession of the paper, you whip out tools and put deadbolts and locks on everything that has nothing to do with her room and, unfortunately, the kitchen. She's lying to your face and is exhibiting seriously narcissistic behaviors with zero remorse, equating kindness with weakness and preying on your empathetic nature to avoid her own responsibilities is grounds for eviction. Someone said this, no one ever stays more than 2 nights in my home anymore without signing a rental agreement because of people taking advantage like this. At that point, they are considered a resident unless you have a rental agreement. I have a very tender heart, and it's gotten me into bad situations where people I'm trying to help take advantage. I learned the hard way I can't kick someone out of my home for stealing from me and doing illicit substances behind my back and bring men back to my home at all hours. It is such a helpless feeling having a police officer standing in the home you own and you pay bills in, telling you you will be arrested if you do not let the freeloader back in. So now people sign legal contracts. I have a stack of blank ones in the kitchen. It's got all kinds of rules and it lists how much they will have to pay in rent after a certain time frame. People don't respect what they get for free. I charge $30 a day to stay after 2 weeks. Incredible how fast someone can find a new place to live in if they know there's no good reason they can give me for not paying. It's saved me twice from having freeloaders overstay their welcome or take advantage of my kindness. Wow. If I lived in that state, I would never have anyone over. I wouldn't even want to take the chance. 3 nights and they're considered a resident is crazy. So there are a few updates on this post. Update 2 days after posting. My husband and I discussed, then waited for Amy to get home and asked her if she had anything she would like to tell us. She said no. We then told her there was a camera in the house and we saw her go into my nightstand. She got silent, so I asked what she was doing. She took a while to respond, and after some pushing, she said it was awkward. She then told me she was curious as to what I use. I asked her what she meant and she said toys. I asked her why she didn't just ask me, as I'm a very open person. She said it felt awkward. I then asked her why she rinsed it and sniffed it. She said, because I touched it. I told her it doesn't make any sense why she would do any of that. Why wash it after handling it and not before? Why even go into my personal area in the first place? Oh, so she washed it after? I'm confused because I thought she went back into the room. So I guess maybe she didn't go back into the room and used it. Maybe she rinsed it. Maybe she used it, then rinsed it, then went back into the room, but for some reason was in there doing Lord knows what. I don't know, child. Anyway, OP says, we of course told her she had to move out because the trust is completely gone and I do not feel comfortable having her in our home anymore. My husband was a champ. Every time I started to shut down, he took the conversation over. I got tested at urgent care and tested positive for the same infection she has and put on an antibiotic. After days of asking for test results and if she had an HIV test done, I found out she hadn't. She is physically not at our place anymore, but we are trying to arrange a time for her to come get all of her stuff. There is still so much more to the story, but that would be a whole novel and some of the details are too personal. My godson is mostly with his father now, and Amy is back in with her mother, I believe. That's where she should have been in the first place. Update 2. While arranging a time for her to come get her stuff, she made a comment that I interpreted as her admitting to actually using it, not just figuring out the brand. My husband and I decided that we will no longer be able to keep it because this whole thing will always be in the back of our minds. Huh? I thought they were gonna throw it away anyway. She came and got her stuff last night, and I gave her the present and said, well, I can't use it anymore. She might be fine with sharing toys, but I 100% am not. Disgusting. According to other people I know, she has been saying that I kicked her out because I thought she was trying to sleep with my husband, which is another flat out lie because it's pretty obvious to everyone around us we have a very trusting relationship. I told her I would go along with the story that it simply just didn't work out, but if she makes us out to be the bad people, then I would be forced to tell people the truth. So I started to the people who have asked me about it. She is blocked on most things, still deciding if I should block her on everything though. I guess that would depend on how my blood STD tests come back and if I will need to pursue legal action. And update 3, my blood test results came back negative for everything, so the only thing she gave me was the infection. She went to my other friend and asked if she was talking crap, so she is definitely still invested and worried about what people will think about her. I'm not sure if she knows that I know the lies she has been telling, but I don't care either way and just want her and the drama out of my life. I have blocked her on everything besides text messages in case something big comes up. This will probably be the last update unless something goes very sideways. That's crazy. That's disgusting. How? I don't even want to think about it anymore. Let's go to the next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my father's wife a creep? My 32 female father, 60s, has been married to Sasha, fake name 40s, for almost a decade. I was already an adult when they started seeing each other, so I never had much of a relationship with her. That said, Sasha was nice and thoughtful, though a bit annoying at times, and I never had any problems with her. I now have a husband, 34 male, and 2 kids, 9 male and 4 female. Sasha is very fond of my children, especially my daughter. That became very suffocating pretty quickly, so we started setting some boundaries. She never overstepped them. In January, my father and Sasha decided to go on a trip to Disney World and invited us to join them. We decided to go to celebrate our son's 9th birthday. I quickly regretted coming along. Sasha spent the entire trip fussing over my daughter in ways that overstepped almost every boundary we'd set. Examples include: Sasha bought a mini ears tiara. She wanted me to buy my daughter an identical one so they could match. My daughter didn't like the tiara, so I bought her a Donald Duck hat instead. Sasha got her the tiara anyway and was upset that she didn't want to wear it. My father and Sasha went shopping in between parks. I told them not to buy my kids anything, and we still had shopping to do and didn't want to risk making our bags too heavy. Still, Sasha returned with 5 bags of clothing for my daughter and 2 for my son, saying she couldn't resist. My daughter wanted a Belle costume to wear at the parks, as that is her favorite princess. Sasha tried to convince us to get her an Ariel costume instead because that's her favorite. I explained that we never watched The Little Mermaid at home because my daughter is scared of Ursula. Sasha insisted on taking dozens of pictures with my daughter in front of the castle at Magic Kingdom. She also took some with my son, but not nearly as many. She tried to convince us to take our daughter to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. We refused because the prices are crazy and we'd already bought her the Belle costume. She offered to pay, but we held our ground. I later found out Sasha tried to make a reservation anyway, but there was no availability. When we took our daughter to Slinky Dog Dash, her first roller coaster, Sasha tried to sit next to her. My daughter wanted to sit with me, so we switched. She tried to do the same thing in other attractions. At the Muppets Theater, she tried to get my daughter to sit in her lap. Sasha also tried to pick her up, while we met some of the characters. This lady gives me the ick. I wouldn't want her around my kids. I would be uncomfortable too. She's just doing too much. There were more instances. The final straw for me, however, was the last park day of the trip. We were at Magic Kingdom. My husband suffered a minor injury and I had to take him to the first aid station. The kids wanted to go to the Peter Pan ride, so my dad and Sasha offered to take them in the meantime. However, according to my father, the line was too long, so instead, Sasha suggested the Little Mermaid ride, assuring my kids Ursula wasn't on it. Actually, there's a pretty big Ursula animatronic there. My daughter was still sobbing and hugging her brother when we reunited. When we flew back home, I told my father that we'd no longer take our children on trips with Sasha due to her behavior. He got extremely angry. He said his wife loved my kids, thought about what they'd like to do at every moment of the trip, and that we should be grateful to have her in our lives. Ew, I hate when the fathers do this. Listen to your kids. Like, don't immediately just get defensive. I know, I understand that's your wife, you love her. But don't just immediately discount what your child has to say just because it's seemingly negative about your wife and you have to feel like you made a good choice. There could be some truth in what she's saying. OP said, I lost my temper at that. I told him Sasha was a freaking creep and that they should be grateful I was still okay with them even seeing my children after her actions during the trip. We ended up having a huge fight after that. It's been weeks since we returned home, and my father is still angry at me and my husband. Sasha has texted me a few times. She says she's sorry if she made me uncomfortable, but that she loves my kids and hoped to use the trip to spend more time with them. To be honest, I don't think I'm the a-hole here, but I do think I might have overreacted. I believe there's a chance Sasha's actions were motivated by love and she truly did have good intentions. Am I the a-hole? No, and if her actions were truly motivated by love and she had good intentions, then she would have respected the wishes of the mother of those children and wouldn't have been trying to push things. She would also have respected the wishes of said children. If I say I don't want the Minnie Mouse ears, I don't want the Minnie Mouse ear, or whatever the thing was, you know? Someone says, not the a-hole, you set some pretty clear boundaries that Sasha kept crossing the entire trip. Even your daughter seems to not be particularly receptive towards her. Also, your son can probably pick up on this favoritism, and that's not good for him either. I don't mean to do armchair psychology, but this reads like Sasha has always wanted a young daughter and is using yours to live vicariously through. Hence why she kept trying to push things that your daughter doesn't like onto her. OP responded, my son doesn't like Sasha. I'm not sure why, but I think he gets that she favors my daughter. He's also very protective of his sister, so her discomfort could also be a reason. And someone responded to that, he definitely can. When I was 5, I could tell my grandma favorited my younger sister. Not to mention, it was his birthday and his sister was getting loads of attention and presents. It would be harder for him not to notice. At least he has the maturity to understand it's not his sister's fault. And OP responded, I will say that he got more birthday presents than his sister got Disney souvenirs, but no thanks to Sasha. When they gave him one of those happy birthday buttons, Sasha tried to ask for an extra one for my daughter so she wouldn't feel left out. I asked for a first visit one instead, but that was how Sasha behaved during his birthday. And another comment, not the a-hole, she sounds exhausting, but she also doesn't seem like a truly awful person. Question, does she have any children of her own? She probably sees your kids as a chance to play mommy if she's never had kids. She may not even be aware of exactly how intrusive she's being. It looks like there's a 20-year age gap between her and your dad. She's probably thought she'd be okay with not having kids. I'm guessing your dad may have told her he's done having kids, but your little ones, especially your daughter, may have just stirred up those feelings and she's trying to compensate. I still don't think you're the a-hole, but maybe have an honest talk with her, just you and her, and try and show a little grace. My apologies if you've done that already and she's still being a pill. OP responded, "You're right about a lot of things. She doesn't have kids. My dad doesn't want more children. And while she's defined herself as child-free before, she's also told me she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. My husband and I started setting boundaries because the situation was really bad when my daughter was younger. She'd wake her up from her naps when she visited, post pictures of her on social media without our approval, and complain about almost every parenting decision we'd make because it wasn't how she'd do it." This lady is doing too much. There's a difference between being child-free and, "Oh, I always wondered how that would be," and then strong-arming your way into trying to be an important figure in these people's kids' life and overstepping the boundaries that they have already laid out. Those are two different things. So OP had an update 1 week later, March 4th, 2024. "Hey everyone, I'm ready to give you an update. I read your comments and came to the following conclusion. As much as Sasha's behavior towards my children angered me and freaked me out, calling her a creep was the wrong reaction to have. That said, I think it's best for my family to distance itself from Sasha for the time being. And at the very least, my previous decision to avoid future trips with her based on the Disney trip is still the best course of action. Sasha's pushiness, tendency to override my and my husband's parenting, and blatant favoritism towards my daughter were much worse when the kids were younger. After my daughter's birth, she began to focus too much attention on her and almost none on my son. I gave more examples of that in the comments on my original post. That's the reason we set boundaries in the first place. Her fixation on my daughter also bothers me. When we had the boundary conversation with my father and Sasha, she told us that she'd always wondered what having a daughter would be like. She'd also defined herself as child-free before, so I was never certain what to think of that. Either way, that reassured me and my husband that we were doing the best for our kids. Those boundaries had never been overstepped. Then we went on the Disney trip, and most of them were completely ignored. Many of you pointed out that she might have gotten carried away, or that Disney is exciting and she wanted to make sure my kids had the best experience, etc. There are two things I'll say to that. The first is that whatever Sasha's reasons were, she still overstepped our boundaries. When we first set those, we told her that doing so would have consequences. Disney or not, I don't see a reason to make an exception. Secondly, she wasn't trying to ensure my kids had the best experience. She was pushing them to fulfill her fantasy of what their Disney trip should look like. She repeatedly ignored my children's wishes in favor of her own, despite them both being very clear about what they wanted and didn't want. Sasha also continually favored my daughter, including during my son's birthday, and fussed over her in ways that made her uncomfortable. And I still haven't forgiven the Little Mermaid thing. My daughter is a bit shy and takes a while to open up to most people, so knowing her trust was broken like that angers me in ways I can't describe. To put it in simpler terms, my children aren't props, and whoever treats them as such will, at the very least, be put in timeout. I called my father and Sasha on Saturday. I apologized for calling Sasha a creep, but told them that we needed time apart. They won't see my family until my younger sister's birthday in late April. If that goes well, they'll be invited to my daughter's 5th birthday party in May. After that, we'll slowly work on reestablishing contact. I also said that if they overstepped our boundaries again, the consequences would be more dire. My father didn't take it well. I don't care. Sasha sent me a text with more apologies, followed by a request to at least FaceTime my kids every now and then. I said no. This lady is weird. She's doing too much. She's doing too much. And to those who said my controlling behavior ruined the trip, my kids had an amazing time at Disney World. They're both still talking about it. My daughter keeps asking us to put her pictures with the characters she met up on the wall, and my son says he had the best birthday ever. I think that's it. Thank you for your advice and support on my first post. I see nothing wrong with what she did. As one of these comments says here, you protected your children and that's the best thing you can do in any situation. Completely agree. At the end of the day, these are her kids. She is the one who has to make sure they are safe, cared for, loved. She's doing what she thinks is right. I see nothing wrong with what she said. And it's not as if she's still giving them a chance. It's not as if she's completely cutting them off. She's giving some space. She said, hey, we'll see how it goes at this point in time. If it goes well, then we can progress. I think that's a great approach. And it's funny how even with this situation, she's like, well, can I still at least FaceTime the kids? No, you can't. So the second update, 1 month later, I'm assuming this was around the time of the niece's or whoever's birthday party. Last time I posted here, I mentioned that my father and Sasha wouldn't see my children until my younger sister's birthday party. The party took place last weekend and we didn't attend. These 2 months of no contact worked fine, but not great. My father respected my wishes to my surprise, but Sasha kept trying to find ways to talk to my children. Girl, I feel like I probably would have stopped answering her calls because you calling me a dozen times under the guise of you asking for something else, but then really trying to talk to my kids. That's weird, bro. That's weird. After speaking to our kids, we decided not to go. They both said they missed my father, but clearly didn't want to see Sasha. We thought about attending and just distancing them from her while there, but risking making our children uncomfortable wasn't worth it. My son even asked if we could see their aunt somewhere else without Sasha around. My husband and I explained the situation to my sister. She was upset, but mostly because she hadn't seen the kids in a while. We all went to dinner at her favorite restaurant the day after her party. I also called my father and told him we wouldn't go to the birthday party. He reacted better than I expected, but we still had a short fight about it. He claimed that I promised we'd let Sasha see the kids after 2 months, called me unfair, and said he was entitled to have a relationship with his grandchildren. I immediately denied that. Right. Though I tried to sugarcoat it at first, I eventually gave him the truth. My kids don't want to see his wife, and I won't force them to. My father and I had a long talk. I told him how much Sasha's actions at the Disney trip upset my children, as well as how uncomfortable me and my husband felt. I admitted I don't trust his wife at all, and I don't think I ever truly will. He said that while he still thought I was overreacting, he understood I wanted to protect my kids. My dad also told me about how these 2 months of no contact were for them. Apparently, Sasha started talking about my kids, mostly my daughter, a lot more than usual. She'd mentioned things and places she thought they would like. My father was aware of one of the times she called me, but thought it was a one-time thing. She wanted to give my daughter a gift at my sister's birthday party. He said he didn't know why. Is the dad, is he not seeing that there's something odd about this behavior? This is not normal. This is definitely crossing the line of normal human interaction. At one point, she told him she wanted to plan another family vacation with the kids, even though I told them They're not traveling with Sasha anymore. Learning all of that just made me more certain that I can't trust this woman around my children. For now, I intend to remain low contact with my father and no contact with Sasha. My daughter told me she wanted her grandpa at her birthday party a few weeks from now, so I told him that he was invited, but Sasha wasn't. He agreed. To be honest, I don't trust my father after all of this. I'm allowing him to come because that party will take place at my home, which is easier for me to control. If he tries to bring Sasha, they will both be kicked out, and it will take a long time for me to consider letting him near my kids again. My father hasn't told me how his wife is reacting to this. My sister told me that during her party, Sasha asked her to tell me she wanted to talk. I'm not reaching out to her, nor do I plan to respond if she attempts to contact me. Both me and my husband have blocked her. My children are doing great. They still talk about how much fun they had at Disney. My daughter's been saving money, putting coins in her piggy bank, for us to go back. On a completely different note, I'm pregnant again. This was completely unplanned. I always said I wanted 2 kids at most, and the third would have to be a huge accident. But my husband and I are ecstatic. I'm still in the first trimester, so not a lot of people know. We're brainstorming ways to tell our kids. Overall, I'm happy with my life right now. And as much as I wish this Sasha situation had never happened, I feel like a better parent after dealing with it. I have never been more confident in my abilities to protect my children than I am now. I don't think I'll update again anytime soon. Once again, thank you all for the support you've given me. I wish you the best. All right, well, we have one more update, y'all. Let's see. So from May, June, July, August, September. So this would be 4 months later. I agree with her whole approach. I also think she's doing a great job with protecting her children and keeping them safe. Grandpa better get on board before he's left out in the dust trying to side with his crazy wife. I don't know what she doing, what she got in her head. They might have to get some counseling or something for her, but her actions are not normal at all. So let's go to the last update, which this was again September 3rd, 2024, about 4 months after the third update. First of all, my father didn't bring Sasha to my daughter's birthday party back in May. I didn't really think he would. I'd made it very clear I wouldn't tolerate that, but I'd be lying if I said your comments didn't make me a little paranoid. Secondly, I've just entered my 3rd trimester, and the baby will be here in November. The kids are ecstatic. I'm having another girl. But my husband and I are not sharing the gender until she's born. This has nothing to do with our families. It's just something we've also done with our first 2. Everyone, including Sasha, knows I'm pregnant. Goodness. I just feel like this is gonna ramp up the Sasha craziness. Like a fresh new baby on the scene. We announced it a couple months ago. I had no problem with my father telling her, though he did ask if he could. I didn't hear much about her reaction, but according to my father, she was happy for me. My children still don't want to see Sasha, and I'm still not forcing them to. I've unblocked her and put her on mute instead. But she hasn't made any attempts to contact me. We've continued meeting my father without his wife, and I think it's been working out. My relationship with him isn't fantastic, but it's much better than it was earlier this year. Last week, I saw Sasha for the first time in months. My cousin threw a party at her place. My husband and I attended, as did my father and Sasha. I knew she'd be there, but since the kids weren't with us, son had a sleepover, daughter stayed with my mom, I didn't really have anything against seeing her. They arrived sometime after we did. My husband and I spoke with them for a few minutes, and it was less awkward than I expected. Sasha asked me about the baby's gender, and I told her we weren't telling anyone, which again is what we've always done. About 20 minutes later, my father told me they had to go. I thought it was weird that they were leaving so soon, but I didn't think much of it at the time. He called me a few days ago and we spoke for a long time. My father is difficult to talk to, so the following is what I gathered from the conversation. He said they left early because Sasha was holding back tears after she saw me. She was sobbing by the time they got to the car. What? They later had a discussion about it, and Sasha admitted she wanted kids. Clearly. She married my dad knowing he didn't, but hoped he would change his mind. Apparently, when my son was born, Sasha tried to drop "I want one" hints to my father. He didn't notice, so she gave up. According to my father, Sasha told him she loved my kids equally, but my daughter was special because she always imagined herself as a girl mom. That's also the reason why she became such a suffocating presence when my daughter was a baby. When my husband and I started setting boundaries, Sasha realized she was overstepping and agreed to abide by them. To her credit, I think she did a mostly okay job back then, but the favoritism was still obvious enough that my son noticed it. The trip we took was a turning point because Sasha's dream of having a daughter included taking her to Disney World and having her do all the things she liked to do there when she was young. She told my father that having my daughter there was so exciting that she forgot everything I'd said about not overstepping. Sasha wanted a mother-daughter trip and tried to use my child for it. Sasha said she regretted her actions during the Disney trip, but only because she lost access to my children due to them. And seeing me at the party, all pregnant and pretty, my father's words, not sure she actually said that, was what drove her over the edge. I remember reading some comments theorizing that this was what was going on, but I still didn't really expect this. My father said he was telling me all this because his wife wasn't doing well and he'd understand if I wanted to keep my kids away from her. Didn't expect that either. Ooh. The fact that he is admitting it and aware is kind of scary. Because he's there at home with her. He sees what's going on. So it must be something that he's seeing that he's kind of concerned about, low key. I don't know what the future of their relationship will be, and I don't think my father does either. All I know is that if Sasha still wants to have kids, it almost definitely will not be with my father. Before all this, I was pondering about my third child's future in relation to Sasha. Now, I sincerely don't want her to be a part of my baby's life. This isn't a final decision, but I've been speaking to my husband about it and he agrees with me. I don't think she's a bad person. I got some baby stealer comments on my previous update, but I don't think that's what's happening here either. But if the Disney trip proved anything to me, it's that Sasha is willing to be extremely selfish and disrespectful to get what she wants, even when my kids are involved. A couple months ago, my husband and I had a conversation with our son about the subject. He told us he dislikes Sasha for 2 reasons. She favors his sister, and she doesn't listen to them. Honestly, that's all I need to know. Looking back at my own childhood, I feel like I was never allowed to have boundaries. I was always expected to put my schedules and preferences aside for others. It's important to me that my children don't go through that. If they don't want to see Sasha, they don't have to. I think that's all I want to say here. I'm doing well. I actually got some great news from work recently. My kids are thriving, and I'm excited to meet my third baby. Again, thank you guys. All right. Whew, Lord. Well, congrats on the third baby, the second girl. Let me just double check and see if she had any other posts. No other post. Honestly, I think she's handling it well, the whole situation. I hope Sasha can maybe get some help. Or, I mean, it sounds like maybe the mayor, if she really can't get over the fact that she won't have any kids, it might be time to call the marriage. I wish she would have spoken up for herself sooner, because now she's at a critical time in life, thinking about, like, she's in her 40s. Not to say that is too late, because it's not. But if she wanted to have them naturally, there's just more things that you have to consider. Yeah, I hope that works out. She's got to make a decision. So that was the last main read of the video. I'm gonna go into the palette cleanser. Just a reminder to subscribe if you haven't already. And this palette cleanser is from the r/Petty Revenge subreddit. Petty revenge against a group of entitled people. This takes place back in 1971. It was Christmas Eve, and I was 18, working with a friend. I had just graduated high school that year. We worked in a gas station pumping gas in New Jersey. It had been snowing all day, and there was about 4 inches or more on the ground. The station was on Route 46 westbound, about 10 miles from New York. This is a 2-lane road in each direction, with simple metal guard rail separating the east and west lanes. The owner of the station said we were not to do service calls as he was not insured for it. So around 8 p.m., we see this guy crossing the eastbound lanes, hop the guardrail, and walk into the station. This guy was dressed in very nice clothes. He told us he had a flat and asked, could we fix it for him? My friend Mark said we were not allowed to leave the station. The guy started to beg us to please help them, as they had a Christmas party to get to in NYC. I asked Mark if we should help the guy, and Mark said, if you want to go do it, then go ahead. I asked him how much to charge, and he said $5. So the guy agreed, and I threw a floor jack in my trunk, and we went over to his car. It was right across the highway in the entrance to a large car dealership. When I got out of the car, there were 5 other people there, all dressed in fine outfits, and they reeked money. It was 3 couples. One woman started saying things like, "Thank you, you're a lifesaver," and such. One of the men said something I did not quite understand to the one who came to the station. He said, "How much?" The guy replied, "A Finsky." Now, I had never heard this word, but I knew that fin was slang for 5, so I assumed that's what it was referring to. Well, then it happened they stopped conversing in English and switched to German. This is where it gets interesting. As I mentioned, I had graduated high school about 6 months earlier after having had 4 years of B-level German, so I understood quite a bit of what they were saying. Basically, the conversation went like, "This is crazy. It's too much. You could go down the street and pay half that much." Now, you might say, why are they complaining about $5? I just looked it up, and $5 in 1971 is over $38 today. So yes, for that time, it was expensive. So I keep my mouth shut and do my work, just listening to the conversation. I did not know any German curse words, which was good for them because I would have stopped and left them there on the spot. I finished changing the tire and put everything away. They are still jabbering in German. I had decided what to do and very politely tapped the guy on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, but can I have my $5 now?" in German. That resulted in complete silence from all of them. 6 people stared at me in shock, and it was like you could see them shrink into themselves as they realized I understood what they were saying. Man, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for that interaction. The woman who said "you're a lifesaver" in English said, "Oh, you understand German?" I replied to her in German saying, "Yes, I do." I could tell they were all very flustered about it. She asked me in English how to get to NYC, and I gave her the directions in German. I wanted to twist the knife, so to speak, to push home how much German I understood. They paid me, and as they were driving away, the woman who was sitting in the back seat looked out the window staring at me as they drove away. I was on cloud 9. I felt like I was hovering above the ground. I just cut 6 snooty, entitled people off at the knees and did it by being polite with a smile on my face. It was glorious. That's funny. Well, I think that's a great petty revenge. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He just spoke in the other language, still fixed the car, still got paid, but I hope they learned a lesson in making assumptions. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.